Hey everyone, welcome back to a new Let's Play of Minecraft. So, I've been slowly, here and there, been just doing a little bit over the past few days. Trying to work on smoothing out, making a little more land easier to work on building. What will eventually become, of course, a much larger castle overall. Slowly trying to convert this to more of like a tower, I guess you could say. And of course I'll remove some of this to help slowly build much more massive inside where the basic caves and stuff are for now. But first I want to quickly start working on just a basic little stone wall. I figure I'll probably use normal stone. Yeah, I think I'll actually go with a stone with moss on it. And try to decide an outline, basically where I want to start building a wall. I want to make sure I leave enough space, though, for more construction. But I think for now, I need to move to at least allow enough space to work. Yeah, this will definitely take some time. So, but for now, I need to, unfortunately, burn a few of these trees. In order to really make any leeway. Not everything, of course. But for now, yeah. Yeah, I think we'll do around here, maybe. Try to get a basic outline and figure out about how big I want to go. I think that's almost far enough. I'm thinking about 2 or 3 more spots. That should work. I may have to use some dynamite. Maybe or maybe not. Just slice into the rock or some. Hmm. I do enjoy the fact just hearing the sound of the rain and stuff. Really is relaxing. Fine. I'll do it myself then. Let's see here. And trying to slowly just add a little height to the walls. Because let's be honest, you can't have a castle without a good stone wall. To keep people out or in. Case in point, you want to go historically on walls. Of course, no greater wall than, well, the Great Wall of China. Given it has stood for over 2,000 years. Or actually, maybe not quite 2,000, but it has stood for quite a long time, an impressive feat of human ingenuity of more ancient times. Goes to prove in many construction aspects, I think unfortunately a lot of great architecture design was lost, sadly, to the ancient world. The ancients knew great amount of building secrets that even today still baffles modern engineers. It's a shame. I really wish more people would pay attention. Honestly, to things like history. As the old saying, of course, goes, if we do not read or study history, we are always doomed to repeat it. Unfortunately, this is something even modern mankind does not seem to understand. And I wish there was more people nowadays that thought with actual science and logic, rather than thinking with their emotions, and that is a great flaw of humans. Emotions can be a good thing, but at the same time it can also be a very much bad thing. It clouds better, more scientific judgment. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of people do not seem to understand that is lost on modern day society as a whole. Like, trying to talk logic to some people is like trying to talk to a wall, basically. It's like basic common sense is lost on a lot of people, unfortunately. And that is unfortunately very sad. One of the other problems is a lot of people nowadays feel that apparently the world revolves around them. That's why we have all these nutcases out there, unfortunately, who do not think with logic or common sense and just want to make up facts even if they have nothing to actually back themselves up with it, scientifically speaking. And I just wish more people would actually use logic and realize also, when in the great scheme of things, we are merely humans. We are mortal. Physically, we will live a certain amount of decades. We may live 80+ year life, which is a good length life for a normal human. But as somebody once said, unfortunately, we may not like it, but we have to realize that at the end of the day, the universe does not revolve around one individual person. And this is unfortunately that seems to be lost on a lot of people nowadays. They think everything revolves around them. But in the great scheme of things, we humans are basically like gnats in the greater universe. I mean, at the end of the day, unfortunately, when it comes down to it, I mean, humans have been capable of some incredible feats throughout the years that have been guided by something, whether it be religion or, belief in a higher power, has in some cases been the ruin of some human civilizations, and in other cases has been what has helped save some civilizations. I think it is true what they say. And there is a old saying that I love, which goes basically, we humans can justify anything, for that's how our corruption begins. To quote, a certain character technically was considered a villain, but he spoke with very much logic. And that being, of course, Minoru Sunsui, the Orator. And in case you don't know who Sunsui is, funny enough, a character in an anime series, but actually spoke a lot of truth, and that's the thing I found in some animes, a lot of actual good theosophical discussions and things on like human existence. Also, the possible evolution of humanity as a whole through, of course, technology, which is something that's been definitely covered on in a specific series that I highly recommend to anyone, and that being Serial Experiments Lane, which really does bring up a lot of interesting thoughts. And the fact that people think it's crazy to digitize a human brain and stuff into the wire or internet, if you will, but it's actually happening. NASA, as well as like University of like Texas, I forget if it was University of Texas or Texas Tech, but has been working on a process to digitize the human brain and be able to download it onto a computer system. Now, apparently, one of the main funders of this research has actually been Microsoft, which is no surprise, because think about it. The former richest man in the world and one of the most powerful people on the planet and influential people in modern society in tech field, of course that being Bill Gates, I feel is definitely probably funding to figure a perfect way to digitize a person's brain. That way, basically, your consciousness can live forever. Because it is believed that human consciousness does not know, really, age. It can actually live forever. The only thing that stops, really, the human consciousness is the physical side of us humans. Blood, basically made up with, of course, human tissue and all the other parts that make up a human being, as well as our skeleton structure. But it is believed that through a certain digital process, which is almost believed to have been perfected now, that humans soon will be able to digitize their entire consciousness into actual data, which, if it does happen, that's both fascinating, but at the same time it's also quite scary, if you think about it. The possibilities are quite interesting, but both good, can be quite profound, but at the same time quite scary. And because, if anything history has taught us about humans, humans are easily corruptible, especially when it comes to power. Sadly, at the end of the day, that's all most people want, is just power. Even the littlest bit of power, and a lot of people can become corrupt. As the old saying goes, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's many people over the years that have stated this, and I would state that great minds such as the Dalai Lama have stated this, and unfortunately more humans are not listening to people like the Dalai Lama, though I think more people should actually listen to actual wisdom. The problem is most Western societies, whether it be America or rather North America, whether it be Europe, thinks that they know everything. All modern Western cultures. Now, am I against all Western culture? No, not at all. There were some great minds to come from Western society, such as one of the greatest, I think, people ever lived, that being, of course, the great man himself, Leonardo da Vinci. In my opinion, is one of the greatest people to come from Western society as a whole. People do not realize the importance to really science as well as to art, architecture, like everything. So much of modern, like European and Western society in general, owes a great amount of debt and gratitude to the great man Leonardo da Vinci, who spoke with a pretty good amount of actual knowledge as well as wisdom. But as another saying goes, knowledge is power, but wisdom is eternal. And unfortunately for many civilizations, not knowing the difference between power, or rather knowledge and wisdom, is one of the greatest downfalls. No farther look than some greatest, like, modern or past minds. Some people who thought they were more important than they were. And then other people who really did help change the way some of us thought about things. I would say of modern people, say in science, probably one of the great modern minds of science is obviously Stephen Hawking, is one of the greatest. Though some of his theories on black hole theory, though fascinating, does at the same time have many flaws. But that's to be expected, because we humans are certainly not perfect. And if somebody tries to convince themselves that they are perfect, they have a serious messiah complex. And there are people who, I think, maybe originally thought they were doing what was good for, like, man or something, but along the way they became completely insane and completely corrupted. Perfect example of this. Somebody who once upon a time was actually pretty much a pretty peaceful person for the most part, with a great imagination and things. But it became hijacked, and he allowed himself to be manipulated by an ideology. And that is one of the greatest dangers to human civilization, is cults. Some, you could say, major religions, but predominantly cults, which are religious institutions, obviously, that operate on the fringes of accepted religion. I don't mean to get too theosophical, given this is supposed to be just a let's play of, basically, Minecraft, but I just feel sometimes I like to speak just what's on my mind at the time. And I just hope someday people wake up to what is going on around the planet, and not to let a small group of people control basically all of humanity. Because no single human being should ever have that kind of power and influence. That's the dangerous thing about, like, mega corporations. So that's the thing I say to people who, like, hate on, say, companies like, such as, I would say, a lot of people think of, like, companies like, say, I guess a perfect example, Walmart, might think of them as a mega corporation. Personally, I view them as more of a, just, one of the sole surviving old school corporations that still exist to this day. There are not many of the old school corporations that still exist. Because the thing is, companies like Amazon are far more powerful and far bigger than Walmart will ever be at the end of the day. Like, last time I checked, like, say you want to go company worth, like, Amazon is worth somewhere between 2 and 3 times that of actually Walmart. To put into context, like, Walmart total value is like over $500 billion. Is that impressive? Yes, it's worth over $500 billion. But keep in mind, Amazon is worth over $1 trillion. And they're not even the biggest. Like, Alphabet is on the same level, if not maybe a tad bigger than Amazon. And then you have other mega corporations, such as probably one of the most powerful. Now, people would probably say, I would say in the domain of media, yes, in the domain of media, Disney is definitely a mega corporation. But all around size-wise, Disney is not a mega corporation. Even if they don't want to admit it, they probably think they are. Yes, they are very influential. I'm not denying that. In fact, they're a little too big, in my opinion. And I think we need somebody to rise up again like Teddy Roosevelt that will frankly take the corporations and knock them down a few pegs in power, because there's way too much monopoly today in all industries, whether it be tech, the automotive industry, whether it be in retail really, though there's still at least a little more competition in traditional retail. Well, at least in box and mortar stores, though there's not a lot compared to what it used to be. You only have a few big ones that are still around. Pretty much Walmart, Target, and Costco are really some of the last big giant retailers that are still exist to this day. Outside of them, there's actually not too many other bigger chains left. Sears, Kmart is basically all but dead now. Macy's is not really that big when it comes into it overall. But with that said, I'll build a little bit more and then I'll cut up this video. But I just ask people to always do your homework on stuff. Don't just believe anything you hear out of the media, whether it be alternative media or mainstream media. But I really don't recommend anyone taking anything the mainstream says seriously. Because when you try to base all sense and reasoning on emotions and stuff, like some of, I would say, the out there people, I mean, there's definitely some stuff I believe that would be considered probably conspiracy theory stuff. But, at the same time, I don't, however, I could never take somebody, say, like a Alex Jones seriously, because he's done way too much questionable things in his life. And though there may be here and there a few things that make sense that he says occasionally, it's a small amount of logic based on a lot of unproven just theories. Though looking back at a few early things he stated that actually did turn out to be true, but that was mostly like late 90s, before it went completely off the deep end. And at the end of the day, I will state to people, always do your research, no matter what politically you consider yourself, whether it be left, right, or a centrist. Always do your research. Don't just listen to one individual person opinion on everything. That's not a very good thing to do, especially given most of your major media outlets, for instance, have deals with basically the government. So, as the thing, at the end of the day, my personal belief on stuff is basically that of a centrist or a just basic libertarian prospect, which is, I basically believe in, I really don't care what somebody else does, as long as it doesn't immediately affect someone else physically or something like that, then I don't really have a problem with the person. That's how I look at it. If you are a sound person, you're peaceful, and you don't try to hurt anyone, basic laws of things like karma, for instance, then I see nothing wrong with things as long as it doesn't harm other people. That's my view on it, anyways. But everybody has their own perspective on everything. As the old saying goes, everyone has opinions like everyone has a nose. Or rather, opinions are like noses. Everyone has one. And I think we should all just genuinely try to be courteous and respectful to other people, even if we may disagree with someone's opinion. You should never resort to violence or something just because you disagree with a viewpoint on something. I just wish there was more people nowadays like that would listen to sound logic and reasoning. Hopefully someday we can get there, and humanity will actually grow a little more mature as a whole. We can all hope. That's my opinion anyways. I want to believe that we humans can do better, and hopefully improve the existence for future generations of humans. Hopefully. With that said, I'm going to get ready to cut this vlog, and I'll see you all next time for another future Let's Play video where I continue working on this basic outline of the wall. But anyways, I'll see y'all again, same YouTube time, same YouTube channel.